Hello guys, it's Edna here on another episode of the Mental Health Show. We know that the topic of mental health is one of the undermined topics. People with mental health challenges in Africa are seen as people with white people problems. Today, we are going to put a face onto these mental health challenges. So we see that the challenges around us or circumstances around us are the ones that take us the drain of these mental illnesses. Today, I'm going to interact with somebody. Her name is Sarah, not real name. And she's going to tell me, we're going to have a conversation about how previous trauma led her to the drain of suicide. Victims of suicide are growing in our country day in, day out. There are reports on the media about people that have committed suicide. And today I decided to bring you guys somebody who has come out of the pit of suicide, someone who has survived to be a statistic. So, hi Sarah, how are you? You're welcome to the Mental Health Show.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing, for accepting us to be in your space in the pandemic. Yeah, thank you for giving FarajaDTv an opportunity to hear your story and for allowing to share your story so that someone out there can be courageous, that they're not alone and that they can beat this. Yeah, so
it's my pleasure to join you. I think for in the fight or in the journey to end mental or to end depression and suicide cases, stories are supposed to be shared, because during the time that I was depressed, there is one thing that always came to me. The fact that I was alone. I always felt there was really no one that understood me, even when people were around.
True.
Even when I was amidst people, I would smile, I would laugh. But at the back of my mind, I knew that I was alone, no one was understanding.
Sure.
So, and I know out there people that are going through the same thing that I was in. They think they are alone. And even if you approach them and spoke to them and did what, it doesn't help. And that is something that if you've not been through, you don't understand it.
True.
So I think it's time for us to share these stories so that they know that they can get through what they're in, or somehow, somewhere, someone really cares about them.
Absolutely. Okay. So when does this start from that trauma and how it affects your mental health and in turn affecting your day-to-day activities? How does it start from?
So you see, when we are depressed, it's not that all the time we are in tears. It's not that all the time we are like lonely or we are not happy. There are times when you're really happy, but when you're depressed, the triggers are usually like things that cause you to get into that state, and in most cases they start with anxiety. Now for me, the things that when I started healing, then I realized that every time they crossed my mind, I would get so down, I would get so anxious, I would feel that totally no one really understands. I think the loss of my dad. When I lost my dad, I really didn't feel anything. And then I was young. So growing up and like getting mature and facing the world, I started like realizing that I've been like the grief for my dad has not gone. And now every time I face a challenge, it triggers. I feel like maybe he would be the only person who would really understand me, which is what it was wrong for me to think so. So now I start to realize this when I'm healing. So, and then, but realizing this also drove me in a direction where I started to realize most of the triggers that came along with the grief for my dad. Now, I started staying alone when I was 19. But before that, I was like this strong firstborn. I have siblings behind me, but I was like, we were like the strength to our mom. She was alone. She lost her husband, which was still young, and we were very young. So I always wanted her to have the best. Though I would see she would push around and try and make things happen, even when it was not really in her way out to do it, but she would try. So I started having that to haunt, like it used to haunt me. I wanted to do something
to pick her out of that pit.
So I wanted to do something. I wanted to go to push for things, even when I didn't have the power, even when I didn't have the resources. I wanted things to happen. So I started joining, like every time I would go to school, even when I didn't have tuition, I used to utilize some of the spaces at school. I would join, and somewhere I get scholarships. I get to associate with people and to build my social capital. So it helped me. I got to connect with a couple of friends who have been friends for years. And I think in this journey of healing, they have helped. Though at some point, it's not about the people around you. It's about what you are. If you have the willpower to go against some of these situations. So I think in me, there was the willpower. Though I was down. I was like,
you were taking more than you can actually manage, because you felt like it was your responsibility to save your family, to save your mom after your dad passed on. You felt like, I think I can step in daddy's shoes, which was not like true or your responsibility, but you wanted to be the help. Okay.
Now, what even caused the biggest traumatizing moment of my life during December of last year, 2020. I have a friend who I met at school. He's like a guy who I respect a lot. He was a girl president of the institute. I respect him, and he was someone who would call me out because he knew what I could do as a person. He would call me out for like gigs, data entry things, like in organizations and all that. So this person calls me on a random day in December. I was alone still. I just love being alone. I don't love being, because when I'm around people, I lose focus. So he calls me and he tells me he's been caught by curfew. He wants to come and spend the night at my place, but it is really like there is nothing he's going to do bad to me. I questioned him before I even accepted him to come to my place. And he said, yeah, nothing is going to happen. So the guy comes to my place. I treated him as a guest, as a visitor. I have had provision for me, like to sleep somewhere else, like not on the bed, but like in the same house. So apparently, I think this person just wanted to end my life, either end my life with making me lose my self-esteem, or to just drain my energy, because one of the worst things that can happen to a girl, most especially a girl like me who is like has been through struggles, is to face things like rape. So this guy, I don't know what really he wanted from me, but when he came to my place, he took that advantage. Like he used that night and he raped me. But okay, I tried to fight for myself, but oh God, it is very sad that when that time comes, you can't even help yourself. I couldn't. It happened. I got so I don't know what I was feeling at the time, like after that day when he left and all that. So this guy leaves me like that. I couldn't take him to police there and then. I was having a lot of questions of, they're going to judge me, how are people going to look at me, how is everyone, like what are they going to say and all that. So I think I spent over a week just, I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't open up to not even my best friend. So when that happens, I fail to report to police.
Okay.
So I finally gathered some energy and I spoke to my best friend. So when I speak to her, well, she gets so worried. She comes to my place. She spends like 2 nights at my place we talk, we come up with solutions, of which some of them I didn't feel comfortable with them.
It's okay.
So I am surrounded by a lot of people that I would talk to, and they would give me solutions. They would make sure I would get maybe justice.
Do you
or what.
like all the people you are sharing with the story? How quick was it to like trust them?
I didn't share the story. I think I got to share this story about a month later. It's only one person that I shared with
Your
about
best
the
friend.
scenario, my best friend. So I wanted to talk to new people that didn't know me, because I felt like people were going to judge me.
Yeah, you wanted a stranger to her.
Yeah. So what I did, after I spoke to her, I told her I can't go to police. We didn't, like, she was really interested in that, but I told her I cannot do that. I just don't want. So I was able to access online. I reached out to a girl, she's called Esther Birunji. I was talking to her, and then I was like, can I like open up to you about something? And she was really like, she was willing to listen to me. But of course, there is really nothing she would do. So she told me, like, she kept on comforting me. She told me stories of, she told me a couple of stories, and I started getting
So that you
back
can
my
be able to
self-esteem. Yeah.
Relatable stories.
Yes. I approached Asan Kasinje on Twitter, and I talked to him. And then all he was telling me is to go to police and report and get like a reference or something. So all those things were not like something I didn't want.
You didn't want to do.
So I didn't approach anyone. So now it gets worse when like I get 2 months. Before all that time, at least I managed to go to the hospital during that very time.
I was actually about to ask you, did you get a rep kit at the hospital immediately?
No, I didn't get all those things. I didn't even know about a rep kit. I think I got to know about it like after some time. So I just went to the hospital and tested for HIV, and I kept on going back for like 3 weeks, and I would get like negative. So that was like really relieving to me. Yeah. So what is worse is that 1 month, about 1 month and 2 weeks down the road, I started getting strange body changes. So I asked my friend. She comes. She's this girl that I've been with like for a couple of years. We've been friends, so she really understands me. So I asked her. I invited her to my place and we talked. And then we got strange ideas, like as though I was pregnant. And my food, like the taste for the food that I eat, I hated it that time. So many things changed about me. I just couldn't believe. So what I did, I approached the guy. Before I could even test, because I got all the signs. And my friend was like, she was worried. She was really worried. And I was worried as well. My friend tells me we approached the guy. I had lost his number, but I think, at school, he was like a former guild president, and apparently he's the president of the alumni.
How did you get the courage to face your abuser and like confront them and tell them I might be pregnant with your child?
It's my friend. I think it's my friend that, I just couldn't imagine. Because my entire life, I haven't even dated someone seriously. I haven't even been able to do some of those things. It is something I just couldn't imagine. It was too much for me. That's the time I was a dead person that is walking. I was dead, but I was walking. I was I didn't know what was happening then. I would just do anything that I would think about. At some point, I wanted to just stand on the road and be knocked. I would buy poison and want to drink poison, but then I think about my siblings, my mom, and it just doesn't add up if I leave them just like that. So what I do, I approach the guy. He just doesn't show signs of he's really interested in either finding out whether I'm really serious or what. I think I approach that guy, and then we approach the boyfriend to my best friend. That's the second person to know about the scenario. So we approach him. The guy is willing to like help us get get the services, the right services for me, because I totally didn't want to keep a rapist child. God. So we approach and we go to Mary Stops. They ask
With the guy?
No, he's not in the country.
Okay.
So he just helped us like financially. And then my friend keeps telling me, maybe we should get back to this rapist and try to ask him again. We get back to him, and with the audacity, he sends 70,000 Ugandan shillings. That is not even a quarter of the money that was needed in the hospital. Well, I wanted to do something. I wanted to get this guy and kill him. I wanted to do something, but I felt like I have a lot to achieve in this world. This is not something that is going to bring me down. And I think even amidst these situations, I had the will to fight. I had a reason to fight, and that reason was my family. So I got Mary Stops, I got worked on. Well, they first tested and they got positive, so they work on me. That time I was...
That's like 2 months after?
Yeah, that's like 1 month, and I think we were getting to 2 months then. I think, yeah. So, God, it's a story that I've only told my friend. I managed to tell like some of my mentor and some of the close friends. Some of them, you actually know them. I managed to tell them, but I didn't tell them the story of pregnancy and all that.
So did you, I'm very curious, did you at any one point feel like blaming yourself for what happened? Did you at any one point blame yourself for what happened? Because there are girls out there who have stories, but then they, in the long run, blame themselves. Did you at any one time?
Okay, I don't blame myself. I used to like think maybe if I didn't really, because my story, okay, I was having a hard time, yes, before the prep and all that. I was having a really hard time, but then this made it even worse, to the extent that I would walk when in my mind I think I'm dead. I would just be asking myself, now if I die, our home is very far away, deep there in Kitgum. Who is even going to check my body? My mom is very helpless. Who is going to do those things? But those are the things I would think about when I'm just there. I would not think about what. I would not think about whether I should do what. Those are the things I never used to think about. But then I would not blame myself for what happened to me.
Great.
Because I know I did something good. I helped someone who needed my help. Now, if the help that I gave out, this was the result, then maybe that it was meant, really. It was something.
It was not meant to be. It was not meant to be. But then I'm very also curious to know, at that point of when you having suicidal thoughts, apart from the fact that your village is far and nobody would take your body, what would inspire, like what would help you to brush away that at that very moment when you want to throw yourself in the road? What did you think about that took you out of that situation of suicide?
I would think about my siblings, because they make me happy.
It's amazing. Friends, I had a chat with Sarah, and she was able to share with me her trauma story, her story of trauma, the story that led her to suicide thoughts. It all came from a series of events in her past, from the death of her father, which led to her gaining a lot of responsibility and looking out for her siblings and family. Then she started being independent at a very young age, and she joined the hustle world at a very, very young age, which took a toll on her mental health, and also a very, very deep event that happened, where she was sexually abused by somebody who she trusted. So I'm going to ask Sarah how she came out of the trauma and to share her post-trauma story. So Sarah, could you please share with me how you came out of you thinking, you know what, death is the only solution? Yeah, the point where you felt like, you know what, guys, let me just leave this world. Yeah. And then how did you come out of that? And how are you living now, post-trauma? Yeah, because you look amazing, you look fine. I could never tell that you were once traumatized. So would you please share with us? Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to share this story. Well, it's a story of hope.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that kept me going was the hope. You see, they always say that where there is life, there is hope. Because you can only have hope if you are alive. If you take on the decision of either killing yourself or walking onto the road and like knock you, or killing yourself with poison, that means your hope, that's the end. Now for me, I think I had this hope, and it has helped me to have the will to survive, to stay, to keep strong. And one thing that always that made me come through that, I always told myself, you are doing this not for yourself. Because if it were for myself, I was definitely going to kill myself. Because I knew now it's not for me. I don't give, like I don't care now. So I said, if it's for me, then I will kill myself. But now I'm doing it for someone else out there. And that's how I managed to come through out of it. And when I came out of it, I got anger for certain things. You know, this holy anger that you get, that you want to do something to help someone out there. And it has also helped me to take a step at a time. I know it's not easy. I know you're out there and you're wondering, and you're telling yourself, it's you can't do this. I can't get out of this. No one is telling you to do this like at a very high speed. Take a step at a time, and the first step could be you starting to fight for someone else, not for yourself. If you think you can still fight for yourself, then fight for yourself. So for me, when I started getting that feeling of I want to fight for someone else out there, the anger kept coming. And right now, the series of events that I see happening, and they evoke that anger to do something. And right now, I am involving myself with a couple of things around me. I had love for reading. I have love for speaking. But when I was down, I wouldn't do those things.
Yeah.
Yet that are things I really love doing. When I stepped out, I told myself, you are supposed to do this. I took on books. I read books every other time. They give me hope. I just really explore around myself, around the world, around what happens, and all those things through reading and speaking. And to me, one person is enough for me to, even if I'm speaking to one person, that one person will be a part of the audience that I will speak to someday. So it keeps me going. I've been able to involve myself with a couple of movements, like a couple of organizations. And personally, I think I developed anger for girls. I want to fight for the girl out there who doesn't know what to do, because I think things happen because we are ignorant. What if we get to know what really needs to be done? Are we still going to have excuses of certain things happening? Maybe that the story is going to be different. For now, let's take a walk on the ignorance. I want to reach out. That's the anger I have right now. Every time I sleep in my place or my room here, I feel like I'm wasting time. I need to speak to a girl out there who is taking a decision the next minute to kill herself. There is life out there, and where there is life, there is hope. So I am taking on I am part of a couple of organizations. I wouldn't want to say it here, but yes, I am a couple of them, and I know my voice is speaking, is reaching out to someone out there. Even if my voice is not reaching out, the person that it's reaching, even if it's not reaching out to everyone, the person that is reaching out to, that person is reaching out to another person. So that is the hope I have, and the hope has kept me going. Just have the hope, and yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yours is a story of strength and a story of hope. Yeah. So in the post-traumatic period, do you have like series of relapse where certain events that happen around you remind you of the past, and how do you come out of that?
Well, there are certain things you just can't forget.
Yeah.
You just really can't forget. You just can't forget the fact that you're not having some of your loved ones with you. You just can't forget things that happen to your body. You just can't forget certain things. But one thing that at least even when I get those relapses, I don't go through the same pain that I went through then. Because now I think the more I went through a series of events, the more I got stronger now. Now it doesn't hit me like it used to, but definitely I get to think about them. But it's okay. I think I became stronger, and yes, I think I'm ready to go on, and I don't face them anymore.
Amazing. We thank God. Okay, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you so much for the zeal and the hope that you have restored. What message do you have for a girl out there that's on the verge of killing herself because someone took advantage of her body and because she feels like a burden in society? What advice, as someone who has gone through it?
Yeah.
Don't give those professional advices of, but as someone who has gone through it,
Yeah.
what did you want to hear that you think someone else would want to hear on that stage?
Now I want to tell you something. It could be not only a girl, because it's a problem that everyone goes through, but specifically to you who thinks because someone who, it's definitely not your fault. That's the first thing you need to know. It's not your fault that it happened. And even if at some point you put yourself in the harm's way and it happened, don't kill yourself. It's definitely not for you to control now.
Yes.
Just have the hope. Don't kill yourself for what happened. If it happened, now let's look at how you can go through it. For me, a word that I can tell you is that I don't want you to go through the same thing that I went through. And for me the story was different. I had the hope to fight. You may be losing it, but remember this: there is life, and you have a couple of things to accomplish ahead of you. It might seem like, well, everyone else will say the same thing. I am telling you this. I went through probably something worse than yours, or even if yours is worse than mine. But the one thing that I know is that anything that happens in your life, we can overcome with hope and with keeping strong. Just don't kill yourself for things that happened. If it happened, there is a reason as to why it happened, and definitely there is a way out, and that way is one thing that you should be looking out for. So what I can tell you, keep fighting.
There is light, eh?
Yeah. I don't want to say there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's something I don't like, but there is definitely something ahead of you that you might not see right now. We don't see yours. I didn't know I would come this far, but I'm right here and I can speak. I might have done certain things that everyone else would judge you for, but don't let people's judgments come over you. Don't let them drain you. You are bigger than yourself. That's all.
All right, thank you very much, Leah, for sharing with us and for giving that piece of advice to somebody out there that is going through suicide. I believe, me and my guest here, we believe that that's not how your story ends. You know, your story doesn't end in you ending your life after a traumatic thing. We believe that there's bigger and better. Yeah, maybe your story is supposed to inspire somebody out there to fight and live on. Yeah, maybe 1,000 girls in a village are waiting for somebody like you to speak to them. So you don't really need to end your story right there. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for allowing us to be in your house in a pandemic. And thank you for having us. Thank you for telling your story. Again, thank you. And we are praying for you. God's best is ahead for you, yeah? Thank you, viewers, for listening to us. That marks the end of our show today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on our social media platforms, FarajaDTv, Facebook, FarajaDTv, Twitter, Instagram, for your daily updates. Bye.
Faraja TV, authentic African voices.